They say that possessions don't make you happy, and I believe that's only true if you let the pursuit of those possessions dominate your life. If instead you decide what is truly important to you, there's nothing wrong with having a few extra possessions or things in your life. Minimalism or essentialism, which are both very cool right now, isn't about depriving need. It's about being more deliberate and more prioritized with the things that you have. Now, a little while ago, I made a video explaining and showing off some of the very cheap products I bought on AliExpress, China's version of Amazon.com. Remembering off the top of my head, it was a coffee filter, a pair of pants, and a couple of knockoff cheap controllers. Now, what I find compelling about those products is how much joy they could bring to some people, no matter how kind of small or cheap or inconsequential they might seem. I don't like people to blame their tools from holding them back, and I don't believe that if you buy a certain thing, it'll suddenly make you happy or suddenly make you more productive or make you feel calmer and less stressed. However, I do believe that you shouldn't underestimate the small things you can get that can make your day and your life just 1% better. Sure, you could save up stacks of cash and you could go enroll in that meditation retreat or take up some sewing class or finally bribe off that town councillor to drop the charges. But that can be quite intimidating. It can also just take a lot of time to save up your money and put it towards one thing. And there's loads of things that may bring just as much joy or even more joy for a fraction of that cost, and for something that only costs as much as maybe a dinner out or a movie ticket in some very overpriced cinema. That's what I want to talk about in this video. I've got 7 products that are all less than £15 or 20 of your US fun bucks. Now, this isn't your usual, 20 gadgets under $20 for the month of October 2020. It's March. As much as I love those videos, love my random fright pee, but I'm simply just not going to make one of these every single month. These are a few cheap, important things to help you get organized, help you stay healthy, and keep that brain ticking over. But importantly, I feel that the benefit they bring to my life vastly outweighs the amount of money I spent on them, which was, may I remind you, very, very low. So let's take a look at number 1, a notebook and a pen. So the reason this is here is because our brains are incredibly bad at holding on to information. They're good at thinking, they're good at solving complex tasks, but they're not good at remembering things, or at least mine is very bad at that. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, as soon as you have an idea, write it down somewhere. Write it down on a notebook and carry a pocket notebook with you everywhere you go. Don't wear out your brain with the task of trying to remember it. Delegate that to the humble notebook so you can free up your brain for thinking, for problem solving, for imagining the future. Over the last few years, there's been an explosion in the practice and the technique of writing things down on paper. Things like bullet journaling, reflection journals, gratitude diaries have really taken off. There's communities of literally thousands of people showing just how creative you can be with a blank or dotted page. My best advice is to not let any of that stuff intimidate you. All you need to do is start carrying around a notebook as a habit and jot down things that pop into your head. You might think that this is overkill and you might think that your brain is good enough at holding on to information, but I know that when I first started doing this, when I was reviewing the notebooks, I was shocked and embarrassed and appalled at how little my brain was hanging on to and how many new and surprising things I found in there. So in terms of recommending which one to buy, I am a serial collector of notebooks and pens and paper in general, and I do not recommend that you fall down that rabbit hole. It's too deep and it's too scary and it's worrying. My advice is to choose a notebook that suits your context. So with me, I spend a lot of time at desks. I'm not particularly mobile, but I also have a bag with me and I chuck myself into my bag and it can get jumbled up quite a lot. So for me, I have found the Leuchtturm 1917 notebook to be just my cup of tea. It's got a handy little double ribbon page finder. It's got a pocket at the back where I store stamps so I can write letters to people because I still do that. It's generally great and there's a reason why it's become the standard. But that suits me. You might be different. You might want to get out and about a lot more, in which case a kind of small pocket notebook might be a bit more useful. Field notes are really popular. I use a Moleskine one, which I've got here actually. Carry it around with me all the time, and particularly when I'm on the train, I'm jotting things down. I tend to like either a grid or a dotted notebook because I do lots of calendars, that sort of thing. To be honest, you probably already have one of these lying around, and while it might be really cheap to buy one, I'd really just recommend making use of one of the ones you've already got, but bringing it into your life in a more deliberate way. And you've got to pair it with a passable pen. You know, a Bic, a biro is fine, it does the job, but if you've got, you know, a spare $10, maybe £7 to spend, it's worth investing in a pen that you like, one that's a step above average, but isn't too expensive to lose. I use these high-tech C's. I'll link them in the description. But if you really want to step up to the next level, I've been using a lot more fountain pens recently because I love the way they write. And you can get lots of different nibs. You can get fun with inks and things. This one's called a Lamy Safari. Got a fine and an extra fine with 2 different nib colors. That's too much. You don't need that. Crucially, the main point of this is that I think we undervalue the importance of paper. I can set up, you know, my Mac as well as I want and it feels really great, but to me, nothing feels like an extension of my brain as much as using a pen and a piece of paper all the time. Number 2, a timer. Even with a rock solid to-do list on your smushed up trees, all of us get distracted from time to time, and all of us can find it hard to get the work done that we need to do. Procrastination grips all of us. It's totally natural. It's built into us as an evolutionary thing. As cavemen, it was good and useful that we could be distracted very quickly. It was good that we could instantly go chase after that food source or recognize that threat. It wasn't always good to be 100% focused on the task at hand. Nowadays, if I do get distracted by a dog, it's not so useful for me unless it's my primary food source. And if that's the case, I have bigger issues than whatever I was working on. I digress. I've read a lot of different stuff about procrastination when I'm procrastinating, and you probably have too. And the single most useful tool and process I found in that all comes down to a timer, which is overexposed. This is less than $10 if you're in the States. If you're in the UK, it's more for some reason. They're way more expensive. I don't know why. You've probably heard of this before, probably familiar with the technique, maybe the Pomodoro technique, the 10-minute rule, or the don't break the chain process. Essentially, this timer is used to help with many, many different productivity systems, but they all come down to kind of one core process, which is super, super simple. Choose a task, one single task that you want to work on and you've been avoiding for a long time. Set a timer. For anything for 10, 15, or 25 minutes is my one of choice. And then work on your task and nothing else until the timer goes off. It sounds simple, but if you've ever done it, you'll know that it works. And there's a few reasons why it works. Firstly, it gives us clarity. When we start working on something, it can be quite daunting not knowing how long it's going to take. A lot of the stuff we're working on are going to take a long time. They're going to have many steps to them. And if you just start and you stop when you get bored or you're finished, you're probably going to end up in quite a bad state. Having to decide how long you're going to be working for and when you're going to stop is difficult. So if you set up a rhythm and you're always working in 10-minute blocks or 25-minute blocks, you don't have to decide that. The decision is made for you, and it makes it far easier to start and really reduces the barrier to entry to getting work done, which is really what procrastination is all about. Secondly, it allows us to really focus on one thing and to do that guilt-free. Now, at any point in the day, you've probably got a lot of different competing priorities. Alongside those multiple products you want to be working on, you've probably got some online learning you want to do. You're supposed to be calling your friends. You're supposed to be doing some shopping so you don't end up with just lots of asparagus like every week. You know, and at least I find it really hard to decide, you know, what I'm going to work on next, how I'm going to dart between them, and it can cause a lot of anxiety and therefore a lot of indecision, which means you don't work, which means you procrastinate. When you're doing this, as soon as you set the timer, you know that you are working on one thing and one thing only, and that there's nothing wrong with that. All too often, you'll be working on a project and you'll get a notification on your phone, or you'll get a thought, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. When the timer is running, you know that you're not going to act on it. You know that that message can wait until after the 25 minutes is done. And if you have that stray thought, that stray idea, simply write it down on the notebook, which you've now got, and then return to it later. There's no need to be immediately diverted and go down this rabbit hole and be taken off course just because you had a thought. Lastly, it helps you plan for the future and just generally manage your time better. Since I've started doing this, I have a much better idea of how long it takes me to do certain things. I read a really good life hack that was about about setting timers for the chores you do, so that if you're dreading kind of emptying the dishwasher or folding up the laundry, if you set a timer, you can track exactly how long it takes, and it's usually like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like way less time than you typically thought, which means you're way more likely to do it. If you're doing this, I now know how many words I can write in 25 minutes. What that means is all of your kind of goals and things you want to achieve are way more If you know how long something is going to take, it just makes the whole thing seem less scary, which means you're way more likely to do it and stop procrastinating on it. Trust me, going through this process means you'll get a lot more done and you'll stop feeling so anxious about it. So when I started doing this, I did use my phone timer or a timer in my browser tab, but I did find that going to a digital device for it would cause me to get distracted every now and then. I'd see something on my favorites bar, I'd see a notification on my phone. For me, single-use, single-function item is really the best way to go. This is a normal kitchen timer that does have a visual element to it, which I like. It means I can very clearly see how long is left. It also, when you have something physical, at least something with a twisty knob, it sets up those Pavlovian responses in your brain. So when you twist it around to 25 and you see it, it's a very tactile thing. Your brain, if you're working properly, your brain then starts associating it with work, and it helps get you into that flow state far quicker. This one does beep, and it beeps quite loud. I wish it was quieter, given I'm always going to be sitting right next to it. There are a lot of different timers out there. Some of them can get quite expensive. But what I would recommend if beeping is a real problem is there are cheap ones that are designed for people who are hard of hearing that either vibrate or they flash a light when they have finished their allotted time. Number 3, a decent water bottle. I've always felt the water has got a bad rap. You can't browse a recipe site for 5 minutes without finding, 7 different ways to make your water taste fit and ready and sexy for summer. There's even whole businesses around just injecting little sugar packets or artificial sweetener packets into your water to make it palatable, when that's totally unnecessary. And I get it, I understand it. Humans, we crave novelty and we crave intense flavors. We may find water boring because it is bland. But I think as humans, we also crave health. And if you're not getting that slippery dihydrous oxide, at least 2 liters of it, to your dome every single day, you are missing out on a ton of different benefits. So drinking water improves your mood and your mental performance. It's as simple as that. There is a ton of studies that show that even mild dehydration reduces your alertness, cognition, and perception. James Clear, who is clearly an intelligent man, has said that often when he thinks he faces a major problem in his life that needs to be resolved, he can simply drink a glass of water and it goes away. I don't think that's very good advice. Jokes aside, I think we all admit we can get a little bit cranky when we're thirsty, and you don't want your hydration level to be dependent on if there's a shop nearby you that isn't overpricing its bottled water. Having a good water bottle with you can help. And that's why I carry my CamelBak with me almost everywhere I go, so I can hydrate and solve all of life's problems. Obviously you can refill the single-use plastic ones from the shops, but I've heard that's not good for you because once it heats up on a hot day, all the watery chemicals go in, and that's not good for you. Invest in one that is good. And there's also nothing wrong with wanting a fun or a cool one. I use CamelBak, but the hydro flasks out there, the Swell bottles, they're also very good. They do the job, but crucially, choose one that you like to carry around with you and that you like to drink out of, because that means you'll fill it up more and you'll drink it more. It sounds obvious, but the amount of people that don't do it and the benefits that they are not sipping is disappointing. It's also pretty well known that drinking water helps with your skin and your complexion, which is handy when used in conjunction with Number 4, a moisturizer and a cleanser. Now, for a lot of viewers, this one may be pretty obvious, and that's why this week's sponsor, Tige Handley has a message for you. A lot of guys don't think they need to moisturize unless they're... Yeah, we don't have a sponsor yet, and I don't have anything against Tige Handley. I just find it amusing how ubiquitous they are, and I can't partake in their products because I am not from Flag World. It's true that far fewer men invest in a skincare routine than women do, and I think it's because our culture has drilled in to women through capitalism and advertising. They need to buy stuff to take care of their skin and do a regular routine, whereas men are just told that we're fucking awesome and we don't need to change. But really that just means that our skin degrades quicker, and mine probably was doing that until one Christmas when I was gifted some fairly fancy moisturizer and cleanser, and I was using it for a couple days, couple weeks, and I couldn't see a difference. But lots of other people could notice a difference, and they started saying, wow, Marcus, your skin looks great. But I did some research and I wanted to find a kind of cleanser and moisturizer that I could use in my price range. And luckily, what I found was some of the kind of best value ones were the ones that are getting recommended by everyone. So the ones I went for are the CeraVe or the CeraVe moisturizer, and yeah, it is generally considered the gold standard, and these are medium size, and they don't cost much. I think they're around $10 each, so if they go on sale it beats the criteria for this video, and it's lasted me 6 months and it's still going. One of the most kind of useful parts of it that I only realized once I started doing it and following a routine was just how useful that morning and evening routine can be. Cleansing my face and moisturizing it in the morning really helps me get prepared for the day. It's a very energizing, fresh feeling. And then doing the same thing in the afternoon really helps me kind of unwind from coming back from work, feeling like I'm washing off the gunk of literally the pollution of central London. You know, the routine of it is almost as important as the benefit it has itself. Speaking of needly complicated rituals that have little to no benefit, number 5 is our razor blades and shaving soap. Maybe this one isn't for everyone. Maybe some people are growing big bushy beards, but for people who want to chase that smooth, fresh, clean feeling and clean look, I would highly recommend investing in a safety razor, because if you are buying those Gillette packs and cartridges, that can easily add up to over £100 over the course of the year, and they are not getting you as good a shave as a safety razor will. And still, new agey subscription services like Harry's Shave Club aren't much better, because they have a £25 sort of joining fee starter kit, and then the £8 a month, which is still going to be well over £100 over the course of a year. Now, if you really want to save money and elevate your shaving experience to something more beautiful and wonderful and precise and smooth, you want to go with a safety razor. Safety razors scare a lot of people away because they involve razor blades, and razor blades are scary. You know, they look scary. We associate them with being scary, and they can cut you if you were to just grab them. In a lot of ways, safety razors are actually far better for your skin, because contrary to the marketing, more blades does not mean a closer shave. It simply means more metal dragging across your skin, doing multiple passes at the same time, which means you're going to be irritating your skin a little bit more. If you can put in the effort and master how to shave with a razor blade, it'll feel much better, be smoother, and be better for your skin. But if you want to use it, you have also got to lather up. You've got to use some hard soap to make it glide smoothly. Now, I bought this stick of Arco from a Bosnian supermarket in 2016. And because I'm not the hairiest man, it's still keeping me going to this day. Same thing with the pack of razor blades. Anyway, the point is it lasts a really, really long time. You spend, £15, $20 on it, you'll have enough razor blades and enough shaving soap to last you probably a year, unless you're really, really hairy. And as I said before, it is just a much more enjoyable experience. I find the act of lathering up, of shaving properly and getting out a brand new razor blade and slotting it in to be kind of mindful. Just have to pause because my cat is being very cute. Isn't she the best? So she's gonna be here the whole time, but you're not gonna see her because I can't figure out how to make it work. But even if you don't shave your face specifically, you might be shaving other parts of the body. And I have it on good authority that safety razors work wonderfully on legs and for armpits. But you do want to be careful on the armpits because the skin is not as taut as it usually is on the face. So you may cut yourself. You also want to be very careful on other parts of the body where skin may be very loose. You will want to be very careful. Number 6, YouTube Premium. Now, I love YouTube Premium because it helps me support the creators that I love financially with cash. No, really. When YouTube Red, as it was called back then, first came out, it really didn't appeal to me at all. Like, I could deal with the adverts and the feature set just didn't have anything going for it that I wanted. But over the years after that, when it became YouTube Premium and YouTube Music as a different app, that offering started to really kind of evolve with the way I like to use YouTube. Also, there's just like way more ads than there used to be. So if you quickly run down the benefits, if you don't know, it is an totally ad-free YouTube experience, no pre-roll ads, no interstitial ads. That means you can watch a whole video without being interrupted, which is rare if you don't have premium. You have access to YouTube Originals. You can also watch videos while your phone is locked, so you can have it as a background play and essentially listen to videos as if they were a podcast. You can also download videos, a lot like if it was a podcast, and actually save them on your phone like you would with Netflix or other apps. And that means you can watch it offline. You also get access to YouTube Music, which is just another streaming app that has its unique benefits, which I'll get into. I find the ad-free experience of YouTube really useful and kind of a throwback. I'm someone, probably like you, who really kind of grew up watching and partially on YouTube. And remembering what it was like back then, kind of without the ads, the sense of kind of, that's the timer. Now, background play is something that was a really unexpected benefit. I always thought, well, why would I want to watch a video with just the audio in? Why would I find that useful? But actually, I've been using it pretty much non-stop when I'm going places, when I'm commuting. Now, you pair that with the ability to download videos and watch them offline, and you have one of my favorite destinations for like kind of all media. If I'm stuck somewhere on a plane, I might watch a movie, I might want to watch Netflix, but I also want to watch 11 seasons of on cinema. It's the same thing with YouTube Music. A lot of my favorite kind of songs that I come back to aren't really kind of album editions of songs. They are covers from YouTubers that they've only put on YouTube, or they're kind of acoustic versions of their own song that you won't find anywhere else. You won't find them on Spotify, you won't find them on Apple Music or Tidal or any of those things. I know what you're thinking. YouTube Music is quite expensive. It's £7 a month, or I think $12 a month, which is way out of the scope of something I would say is a small investment in your day-to-day. However, I've read around, I've Googled some things, and I've found out that there are some enterprising individuals, and for a very small fee, for maybe a couple of pounds a month, they will welcome you into their extended family. And with the privilege of being in their extended family, you also gain the benefit of just getting on their YouTube Premium subscription. Now, this isn't something I would condone. I'm not sure that it follows all of the YouTube Premium terms and conditions, but I'm saying it's an option there, and it costs less money, and you can prepay rather than getting into a direct debit. Last but certainly not least is coffee making equipment. Okay, so I know it's pretty cliche to say that my morning starts with a nice cup of coffee. Truly, once you've had good coffee, it is very hard to go back. The good thing is, it's really simple to make really good coffee. Essentially, I'm about to recommend some things to buy, but you really don't need them. The first time I started really getting into it, I had the coffee itself, but I found some filter paper literally as paper. I think it must have been from a science lab or something, and I was stuffing it into a vase and simply pouring the hot water into that filter paper. It was going through the vase and making the coffee. It didn't look good, but it worked and it tasted great. So obviously you need the coffee. The only things you need to make it are a filter cone and filter paper. There's nothing else. It's really simple. It's a two-piece operation. You also need a mug. but I hope that's obvious. This is my favorite method of making coffee because you can very easily make enough for just 1 cup. The cleanup is so incredibly simple. Once you're done, once you've let all the water drain out, you can simply just flip that filter paper into the bin and not really have to rinse it. If you really want to take it to the next level though, you can buy your own grinder. Doesn't quite fit into this budget, but it can be the next step up. It's another maybe 20, 25 pounds, 30 if you want to go over the top. Freshly ground beans do kind of taste a little bit better. You can get a bit more out of them. I'm getting hesitant here because I realize I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not a coffee expert. I'm just someone who enjoys making it in the morning, like drinking it. But the person you want to go see in this is James Hoffman, who he wrote the World Atlas of Coffee. He won a bunch of awards, and he also has a very good YouTube channel where he just talks about coffee non-stop. He's got some great brew guides for everything, including the V60. I will say though, because I don't think this is mentioned enough, but coffee is a stimulant. It can be a quite powerful stimulant. It's a drug. Seems silly to say it, but I know a lot of people struggle with it. They're trying to taper off. Matt Diavella and Wheezy Waiter have some great kind of really long form videos on what it's like trying to come off caffeine when you've been on caffeine for a long time. So that wraps it up. That wraps up the 7 low spend purchases that have improved my life significantly. These are purchases that have had the highest impact on my life per penny I spent on them. Now, they're not really cool or flashy objects that people are going to say, oh, that's cool and sexy and trendy, I want that. Not something revolutionary that's going to sort of change every aspect of my life forever, but they are things where I am so happy that I spent the money on them, and I'm so happy I bought them into my life. They are bringing their benefits every single day, which isn't the case for a lot of things that I have bought, and I think a lot of the way we consume things at the moment. There's a lot of things that actually didn't make the cut that still provide a lot of joy that I just didn't feel were quite as useful or, as joy bringing as these things. So let me know in the comments things that you've bought that haven't been that expensive, that have been way more useful than you ever thought. I'd love to hear them because I'm always on the lookout for more things in my life that are actually going to be useful rather than just take up space on a shelf or in a drawer. Please subscribe if you want to see follow-ups to this video or many other topics I'll be covering. Have more in the pipeline. But until then, thank you for watching. Like if you liked it. Don't if you don't. And relax, stay calm, stay peaceful, love each other, and I'll see you next time. What's up, baby girl?